So I notice some of you sleep regularly in the 4 a.m. meditation. And while that may be good for your metabolism, it's not good for your achievement of liberation. And it's a sanskara that will come back to bite you. It's very important to have the habit of being completely alert and awake in meditation whenever you do it, because otherwise that habit will weaken you. So please, if you're tired and you know you'll be tired, do something about it before you come. Take something if you need to stay awake, but meditate with your eyes open if you're tired. Stare at the candle flame and use a mantra, but don't fall asleep. And do your best to keep the mind silent, because it's only in the silence of the mind that the power of the self fills your being, and that will keep you awake even if you're very tired. And the power of the self is interrupted by chattering mind or sleep. We don't want to interrupt the flow of the Shakti. It's extremely important, especially in the first meditation of the day, because that sets the stability of the consciousness for the entire day. So I thought I would read a very famous poem by the third patriarch of Chan Buddhism in China. And there are many translations of it, and it's sometimes called Trust in Mind, sometimes Faith in Mind. This, in Chinese, it's Xin Xin Ming, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This translation calls it Verses on the Perfect Mind. Maybe some of you have heard this before. It's kind of an ode to indifference. So I think that from the Chan and Zen perspective, they start in a way with the phenomenology of ego death. But it's a different approach in India, which says union with God comes first, and that brings ego death. You're only going to be able to let go of the ego if you feel the bliss of the presence of God. And that enables you to let go of the chattering mind. In the Taoist tradition, you hold on to the Tao, the way. But what is the way? It is that feeling, that deep instinctive knowing you have when the mind is silenced, and that is the presence of God in your heart. But they don't speak about it in theistic terms. But it's very important that we understand the emptiness of absolute indifference, which is vairagya, to the phenomenal plane events is the natural accompaniment of total union with the Supreme Self. Okay, it goes like this. The great way, the great Tao, is not difficult for those who have no preferences. Let go of longing and aversion, and it reveals itself. Make the smallest distinction, however, and you are as far from it as heaven is from earth. If you want to realize the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. Like and dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of the Tao is not understood, the intrinsic peace of mind is disturbed. As vast as infinite space, it is perfect and lacks nothing. Indeed, it is due to the grasping and repelling of the mind that you do not see things as they are. Do not get entangled in things. Do not get lost either in emptiness. In other words, don't make emptiness a dualistic running away from reality, and reality is somewhere outside. No. Be still in the oneness of things, of events, of reality, but in that oneness, dualism vanishes by itself. When you try to stop activity to achieve quietude, the very effort fills you with activity. As long as you hold on to opposites, you will never know the one Tao. Those who do not understand the way will assert or deny the reality of things. You see this all the time, people discussing whether they should be in the phenomenal or the noumenal. They are not two. Deny the reality of things and you miss its deeper reality. In other words, it's a dream, but the dream has a meaning. Don't miss out on that by simply avoiding it, by going into blankness. But if you assert the reality of things, you will miss the emptiness in which you realize the unreality of all of this, and you have a higher level of reality in which you can reconfigure the dream itself. The more you think about it, the further you are from the truth. Cease all thinking. And then there is nothing that will not be revealed to you. The mistake everyone makes when they enter this path is they think they have to think. It is the letting go of thinking that brings you to the higher intelligence that knows. You will otherwise never be able to think your way to the truth, because the ego mind's thinking, embedded in language and duality, is itself the lack of truth. So philosophy, as it's understood today, is a false path. The ancient world's philosophy, the philosophy of the Neoplatonists, for example, was using the mind only to reach the one that is beyond thought, not to linger in thought about the one, but to reach the one, to reach the good, and then let go of the thought that enabled you to realize how important that is. So, to return to the root is to find the essence, but to pursue appearances is to miss the source. The moment you are enlightened, you go beyond appearances and emptiness. Changes that seem to occur in this empty world appear real only because of ignorance. Do not search for the truth, only cease to cherish your opinions. That's probably the hardest thing that anyone can do in the ego, since all it is a bunch of cherished opinions. Do not hold to dualistic views. Avoid such habits carefully. If there is even a trace of right and wrong, the mind is lost in confusion. Most of us live entirely with a grid of right and wrong superimposed on the world and are constantly making value judgments about it. And this causes us to be lost in a one-sidedness that prevents us from ever feeling unconditional love or liberation from this dream field, because you're always taking sides within it. There's always an attachment and a repulsion. There's always karma being created every time that you make a judgment, this is right and that is wrong. And it creates a sanskara in which some karma will have to happen to prove to you that the opposite is also a possibility, that in contexts in which you are not realizing that you would do the same. There but for fortune go you or I, as is the phrase in the West. And it's very important to let go of such judgments, especially when they are projections of the wrongness of another. We must be free of that and recognize that the consequences of karma are in the hands of God. It is not for us to be the judges. It is for us to be accurate in our own actions, but we can only be accurate if our minds are silent and we are in union with the Tao and the will of Shiva. Although all dualities arise from the one, they do not cling. even to this one. When the mind exists undisturbed in the Tao, everything is without fault. When things can no longer be faulty, it is as if there are no things. When the mind can no longer be disturbed, it is as if there is no mind. When thought objects vanish, then the thinking subject vanishes. When the mind vanishes, objects vanish. The arising of other gives rise to self. Self meaning ego. Giving rise to ego generates other. Know these seeming two facets as one emptiness. So the other exists only because there's a thought of an other. If there is no such thought, there will be a sense of oneness. Different bodies, but a non-difference in consciousness. In this emptiness, the two are indistinguishable, and each contains in itself the whole. When no discrimination is made between this and that, how can you prefer one to another? The great way is all-embracing. It's not easy, and it's not difficult. Those who rely on limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go. Clinging, they go too far. Even an attachment to enlightenment is to go astray. Very important point. Don't become a fanatic about enlightenment. Don't make it an object that you want to achieve, because that only pushes it away and keeps you in duality and creates the false assumption that you're not already that. It's only the mind's illusion that creates a separation from the light. Just let things be in their own way as they are, and there is neither coming nor going. Be in harmony with the way, and you will be free of disturbances. Tied by your thoughts, you lose the truth. The truth does not come in the form of thought. If you are tied by your thoughts, you will become heavy, dull, and unwell. Not well, the mind is troubled. So why cling to or reject anything? If you wish to move in the Tao, do not dislike even the world of the senses and ideas. In other words, it's not a rejection of thought. It's simply an indifference to it. It's the realization of the truth that produces thought, but it is not an artifact of thought. So this poem is made of thoughts, but these thoughts are coming from that silence of emptiness and simply express the truth that cannot be contained in the thoughts, but the thoughts, when accurate, can point to that truth. Indeed, to accept everything fully is identical with true enlightenment. The wise attach to no goals, but the foolish fetter themselves. There is but one Dharma, not many. Distinctions arise from the clinging needs of the ignorant. Using mind to stir up the mind is the original mistake. Peaceful and troubled both derive from thinking. Enlightenment has no likes or dislikes. All dualities come from ignorant inference. They are like unto dreams or flowers in the air, and the foolish try to grasp them. But gain and loss, right and wrong, abandon all such thoughts at once. If the eye never sleeps, all dreams will naturally cease. If the mind makes no discriminations, all things are as they are, which is the one essence. To understand the mystery of this one essence is to be released from all entanglements. When all things are seen without differentiation, you return to the origin and remain what you are. Consider the movement in stillness and the stationary in motion. Both movement and rest disappear. When such dualities cease to exist, even oneness itself cannot exist. The ultimate state is not bound by rules and descriptions. For the realized mind at one with the Tao, all doing ceases. Doubts and irresolutions vanish, and the truth is confirmed in you. With a single stroke, you are freed from bondage. Nothing will cling to you, and you will hold on to nothing. All is void, clear, and self-illuminating, with no need to exert the mind. Here, thinking, feeling, knowledge, and imagination are of no value. In this world, as it really is, there is neither self nor other, and to swiftly accord with that, only express the non-duality of your being. In this non-duality, nothing is separate, nothing is excluded. The enlightened of all times and places have personally realized this truth. The truth is beyond time and space. One instant is eternity. Not here, not there, but everywhere, always right before your eyes. Infinitely large, yet infinitely small, no difference, for definitions will have vanished and no boundaries can be discerned. So too with existence and non-existence. Do not waste time in arguments and discussion, attempting to grasp the ungraspable. One thing and everything move among and intermingle without distinction. To live in this realization is to not worry about perfection and non-perfection. To put your trust in the Tao is to live without separation. And in this non-duality, you are one with the way. But enough of words. The way is beyond language. Words never could and cannot now and never will describe the way. So a lot of words were used to describe nothing at all, but that nothing is worth everything if you realize that that's what you are. And that will free you from everything in which your life is entangled, if you're an ego that does live in the duality of language and of preferences and attachments. And that karma always leads to catastrophe. And at the end of Kali Yuga, when the extreme culmination of everyone's karma has to come due, all the bills have to be paid, it is of extreme value to be in a state of indifference and be able to deal with whatever is thrown at you, because this is the final test and no one escapes it. And the only way that we will pass through the eye of the needle is in this state of absolute simplicity in which we hold on to nothing, including the aim of reaching liberation. It must be the state we are in because we have no feeling of being this or that, no feeling of an I thought separate from the way, the real, the supreme reality that is one. And without realizing that oneness, cleaving to it, merging into it, whatever residue of a sense of ego that is separate from the absolute will be chopped away painfully if it is not released blissfully. The path of bliss is recommendable, and it is available now for those wise enough to choose to eliminate the sanskaras of duality, of chatter, of sleep, and of looking for reasons to project judgments on others. All of that must be let go of. Judge not, lest ye be judged, and think not, lest those thoughts lead you into a hell realm of egoic illusion. Let us be free and emanate that liberated consciousness so that the vibrational frequency of liberation is offered as a gift to all beings who still suffer from their own minds. Namaste.